Hi, good morning viewers. Probably you all would be a NEET aspirant, and for the NEET, biology carries the maximum weightage of 50%. So we just start with our biology lecture, and the first topic in your NCERT is living world. And you know what a living being is and what are all the characteristic feature of a living being is. And look at here, I have just given the gist of what living, the rest of the explanation simultaneously we will be discussing about. And characteristic feature of a living being, and you know that there are growth, reproduction, metabolism, and then self-maintenance, consciousness. In other term, it is response to stimuli. These are all the characteristic feature of a living world, that is living beings. But here there is a slight variation of certain things are absolutely meant for living creatures, and some characters are here and there, you can say. That's why I just mentioned into two. It's not a defining qualities and a defining qualities, like two segregations I gave. It's not a defining feature, like for example when you talk about a growth or reproduction, and you can't say that it is the defining feature wherein you have consider if these features are there, that is living being. You cannot say, but this is also one of the feature. See, for example, when you talk about a growth twin characters, when you say this is increase in number and increase in mass. Okay, so this can be, even you can see in non-living items, like mountain grows and rock boulders grows sometimes. It is nothing but an accumulation of minerals or some debris comes via the wind current and then falls on it and increases the height and weight. It happens, but it is external, outside. And living beings, growth is inside. So see, generally when you talk about a growth, it is pertained with both the things. So you cannot consider growth as a defining property. And when you talk about a reproduction, you know that reproduction means producing their own kind, maybe asexual or sexual. Asexual, you know, the bud production in amoeba, or the yeast will be producing bud, and I have just given an example, and amoeba, bacteria. And sexual reproduction, the gamete formation, male and female gamete formation happens. But why I cannot consider reproduction as a living importance, living beings, the main criterion means, you know that there are some artificially made animals like mule and hinny are all sexually not fertile, they are sterile, and there are some women don't give birth. For that you cannot consider them as a non-living being. So this is not an important criterion too. So we just leave with this. And when you, and also another factor, the reproduction in unicellular and multicellular, that varies. See, when you talk about a unicellular growth, it has to grow. Grow means cell division. See, when the cell is divides into two, it becomes two different individual in unicellular, two different individual. So you can say here the cell division is equal to growth, it is equal to reproduction. So this happens. So here the growth, cell division and reproduction are all the same title in unicellular. In multicellular, that is not the case, that some of the old cells will be replaced by a new cells, and the small baby grows as a small child and then it grows. So the height and weight increases. It depends on the multicellular. Here also you have some variation in plants and animals. So in a living world means you consider both plant and animal. Plant grows indeterminately, so they grow throughout their life. Animals, the human beings, all consider the growth is limited. So there are also minute variation. We don't peep into all that. I'm just giving you what the defining property and what is not a defining property. So when you talk about a defining property, the first and foremost is metabolism. Metabolism means you know that it has got a two important thing. The chemical reaction happen in the system, that is metabolism. The entire biochemical reaction. See, our body is a kind of a chemistry, full atoms, molecules, compounds are all working together, and here you have two subtitle under metabolism, anabolism and catabolism. See, an anabolism is a building up process. It is a building up. it is just building up from a small compound. You are just gathering and make a big. For example, see, when you talk about photosynthesis, carbon dioxide plus water, carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Okay, so these are all collectively make C6H12O6. So this C and H and O, this is glucose. Clear? So the small compounds are making a huge molecule, and that is building up. So when you talk about a catabolism, it is a ulta process, respiration, wherein C6H12O6 with the help of oxygen, it is making ATP plus CO2 plus water. Understood? So again it is broken down, the compound is broken down into a simplest substances like this, and energy is the main product of respiration. This is the breaking down process. So anabolism and catabolism collectively called metabolism. If there is no metabolic reaction, there is no living cell. Okay, so you can say separately, respiration is there, excretion is there, circulation is there, and plant transportation, everything is a part of a metabolism. So you need not want to mention respiration. Of course, the respiration is a criterion to make a living cell as a living cell, but it is one of the metabolic reaction. And then self-organizing, the second point, and this thing I'll come a bit later in the fag end of the title. So self-organizing, self-organizing means a cell is organizing itself. Cell is a collection of an organelle or a DNA, cytoplasm, plasma membrane and all that. It has to organize within. See, for that I have just given a small detail here. Look at here, atoms. You know that the world is made of, initially, okay, it is made of only atoms. We had only atoms. The atoms are collectively form molecules and compounds. Understood? And then these molecules and compounds have made some organelles in the bacterial cell. Organelles in the sense they have a DNA. Bacterial cell is a living cell. It has, there is no proper organelle like mitochondria, chloroplast and all. Still it is a living cell because it has DNA, RNA, ribosome, mesosome. So it is considered to be a cell. So this collectively form an organelle, organelle form a cell, and the cell, a group of cell will form a tissue, organ system, like it upgrades itself. Okay, so you just see this atom and molecule only, it is a non-living, not a big difference between the external world. We are living in this world connected with the external world by air, water current, temperature, rainfall, and the minerals and other things are all belong to a non-living. But still we are connected because our life started from here, and this is a non-living source. And when it is formed as a cell, now it is called as a living cell. And then one by one they are gathered to form an organ system, and finally an organism, a full living body. Okay, but the basic unit is cell, and the cell's basic item is atom and molecules. Understood? So they are self-organizing, and you know that, see, for example, if chloroplast is synthesizing a food, and that food has to be converted into ATP, for that it has to depend on mitochondria. Understood? So there is a connection between mitochondria and chloroplast, and ATP is synthesized. For that they need lot of enzymes and hormones. For that there is a protein metabolism, ribosomes are involving in it, carbohydrate metabolism, endoplasmic reticulum is involving in it. So all the cell organelles are interconnected. They have an interaction that is called cellular interaction. Understood? And the next come is the most criterion for a living being is consciousness, and this is more or less similar with response to stimuli. It is the thing. See, they are responsive. We know that we are responding to the stimuli. We human beings or animals have got a nervous system, so immediately we sense the external media. But when you talk about the plant will go with, like, see, stem moves towards the light, and they are exposing their leaf towards the sun for the photosynthesis, and the root is penetrating and searching a water, so hydrotrophic movement. So it's all a part of a stimulus. So they are responding towards the stimulus. So every living creature has got a consciousness, so they know what's happening around them. Okay, so that is like awareness of the surrounding. You know that the photoperiodism, according to the photoperiodism, the plant flowers it. If there is no flowering, where can you expect the fruit and seeds and other things? Understood? So that is photoperiodism. And seasonal breeders, you know, the frog only during the rainy season it goes for a breeding. So for all this, they know, they sense their environment, accordingly they go with. Okay, so these are the defining properties. On that, the man comes under self-consciousness. He has a consciousness. Apart from that, he is a topmost creature in this planet. So he has a topmost quality of a self-consciousness. He awares of himself and he awares of what is happening around. That is self-consciousness. He knows what is good and what is bad. Okay, that is self-consciousness. But here you have the question in a paper like whether the coma patient feels. Coma patient is alive. Okay, his body is metabolically active, but he doesn't know what is happening around him. The brain death patient does the same thing, that see, make him to alive, like he is given heart lung machine and then he is alive, but what happens around him he doesn't know. But he is a living creature, you cannot put them into the cemetery, so he is living, but he doesn't have a consciousness. Understood? So this is a very important point. And other important point I wanted to stress here in the aspect of a NEET is, look at this, metabolic reaction in test tube, neither living nor non-living. See, when you grow a culture, a bacterial culture or a fungal culture, and there is a reaction going on and it is growing. So test tube, neither a living nor, you cannot define, because you're not making a organ system and other things. The cell is grown, so you can't define either it is living or non-living. This is one point. Second point, isolated metabolic reaction in vitro, non-living, but they are living reactions. Understood? Isolate in vitro means the glass plate. Okay, the glass petri plate you are growing, and it is non-living. You cannot say it is a living, but at the same time they are a living reaction. Some reaction, the cell is dividing and it is growing. Cell is dividing and it is growing. Cellular growth is there. Okay, the division is going on. The number is increasing. So you can say it is a living reaction, but it is non-living. In vitro culture. So this is the second point. This is first point and this is the second point for the question paper. And the third one is, there are, see here, the growth has two twin characters of a growth. This is increase in number, increase in mass. And this is the third point wherein you have a bit of, you have to remember for your exam. The rest of the thing, consciousness and subconscious, and you know that you can do it. Okay. So this is the gist of a living world. If you go through, then you will understand. If you have any doubt on this topic or any comment about this topic, anything that you can share and give your feedback, so that it will be good for the next lecture for both of us to improvise. Thanks a lot for watching this video.